ما شاء الله لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل، نعم المولى ونعم النصير. ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي جعل الحمد مفتاحا لذكره وسببا للمزيد من فضله ودليلا على آلائه وعظمته، ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على النبي الأمي المكي المدني الهاشمي الذي سمي في السماوات بأحمد وفي الأراضين بأبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى أهل بيته الأطيبين الأطهرين، سيما أولهم أمير المؤمنين وآخرهم بقية الله في الأراضين، ورحمة الله على محبيهم ومواليهم وشيعتهم أجمعين، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم ملعونين. أما بعد. All praise due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who is Rahman and the one who is Rahim. We are slowly reaching the pinnacle of these first 10 nights, and that is the day of Ashura. And again, I remind myself and I remind each and every one of you that this is an opportunity for us to reassess our life. How is it that we have been living it thus far? Is it in line with what my Imam would want from me? Or is it that I have given myself false hope that I would in some way be saved because I am a follower of Amirul Mu'mineen? Follower in the sense of I claim by tongue to follow him, but not necessarily through my actions. Yesterday we finished looking at this idea of true hope and false hope, that the differentiating factors between them is that one, to be able to know whether it's true, false or false hope, our hope must be based on reality. A reality that says, for example, that in order for you to show true love, you must follow what the beloved wants from you. If Ahlul Bayt have told us to do certain things and we choose not to do them, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ultimately has told us to do certain things and we choose not to do them, but we still have hope, that hope isn't based on reality. The second is it can't be against the natural order, and then the third was that it must be based on one's own ability. And that formed the subsection of the self, because we've said to you that there are 4 requirements to be able to attain true hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in order to combat despair. And that is to understand Allah, that we discussed a few lectures back. The second is to understand oneself, gain knowledge of oneself, understand the greatness that Allah had intended for human beings. لَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. We gave you dignity. We gave you izzah. I created the whole world for you. Made you greater than the angels. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave all of this to mankind. And then the third is to understand the dunya, and the fourth is to understand the akhirah, which we will inshallah discuss in tomorrow's final lecture. Yesterday I said that today we would touch upon some of those individuals from Karbala who really embodied that hope. Those individuals, and I said it in the first lecture and the second lecture, that they're no ordinary people that were there with Abu Abdullah. The moments that they spent with Imam al-Hussain, they were extraordinary. It made them extraordinary. Because even though they may have lived a life of sin potentially before, But when they made that intention to truly turn back to Allah, to truly connect themselves to Imam al-Hussain, Just even for a short moment. You know, how many hours was Hur with Abu Abdullah? For the most part, he was on the opposing side. But for those few hours from Shab-e Ashur or the Subh of Ashur, when he comes to the point that he dies, it's just a few hours. But yet today Hur is Rahmatullah alayh. Hur is someone that we give niyaz, nadar in his name. Hur is someone that we use as a wasila. Hur is someone that we want to name our children after. Abu Abdullah has invited me and you as well on this journey of liqa Allah. And he's made it easier. He's saying, hold on to what I am saying. Like he told the people of Basra. Listen to what I have to say. Obey my commands. Ahdikum sabil al-rashad. I'll take you towards success in this dunya and in the akhirah. Tell me, were the Shuhada of Karbala not successful in this world and in the akhirah? In the akhirah, they're successful. Their success in this world is that even over 1,000 years later, we still remember them. They're still known as the greatest people that ever fought by the side of any Imam. It's amazing. You know, many of these individuals had, aside from those that were previously living a life of sin, then came to Abu Abdullah, but a lot of them had a high esteem. You know, they had high, they were held in high esteem by society. They were loved by Ahlul Bayt as well. But yet it was their connection to Abu Abdullah that immortalized them. I'll give you an example. For example, Habib ibn Mudahir. Now, Habib ibn Mudahir is companion of Rasulullah, companion of Amirul Mu'mineen, alongside Imam al-Hasan, and dies by the side of Imam al-Hussein. Habib is part of the Shurtat al-Khamis, the 5 elite guards of Abu Abdullah, of Amirul Mu'mineen. Mitham Tammar, Rushayd Hajari, Amr ibn Hamiq, Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr, and Habib ibn Mudahir. These 5 are known as the elite guards of Amirul Mu'mineen. They were willing to sacrifice everything that they had for the sake of Amirul Mu'mineen. And they were not just warriors, they were urafa. They knew Allah, they were in love with Allah, in love with their imams. They were granted the ilm of manaya and balaya, the ilm of when someone would die, and also the events that were to occur. I'll give you an example of it. Fudayl ibn Zubayd narrates, he says that one day in Kufa, Mitham Tammar was mounting his horse. And Habib ibn Mudahir was nearby, and he looks at him. And he says to him, I see an old man who sells melons in Darul Rizq, who in the way of Ahl al-Bayt will be hung and his stomach will be cut open. Mitham replies, looking back at Habib, he says, and I see a man with a red covered face who will be killed by the side of the son of the Prophet, and his head will be severed and paraded in Kufa. Those that were surrounding them started talking, said, look at these liars making up things about each other as if they know what is going to happen. Mitham goes on his way, Habib goes to do what he needs to do. A short while later, Rushayd Hajari is passing through. And they tell him, they say, Rushayd, listen, Mitham and Habib were here, and this is what Mitham said to Habib, and Habib replied like this to them. You know, what madness is this? Rushayd Hajari looks at them, smiles, he says, may God have mercy on Mitham Tammar. He forgot to say that the reward that will be given to the one who brings the head of Habib ibn Mudahir will be more than 100 dirham. They look at this, look, another liar. Another liar. They're not willing to accept this, but it is exactly what happens. But I would argue that many of you may not remember Rushayd Hajari or Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr or Amr ibn Hamiq as much as you remember Habib ibn Mudahir, because of his connection to Abu Abdullah. Imam Hussain holds a different position. This is why all the other Imams, they're always constantly saying, don't cry over us, cry for Abu Abdullah. La yawm ka yawmuk ya Abu Abdullah. There's no day like your day, oh Abu Abdullah. All of them looking towards Karbala. It may be the reason why every Eid, ziyarat of Imam al-Hussain. Laylatul Qadr, ziyarat of Imam al-Hussain. Shahadat of Amirul-Mu'mineen on one of the nights of Qadr. But yet still, ziyarat of Imam al-Hussain. Eid, ziyaratul Imam al-Hussain. Arba'een obviously is associated to Imam Hussain, so recite it there. But then the recommendation is any trouble, any difficulties in your life, recite the ziyarat of Imam al-Hussain. Because Abu Abdullah holds a different position. You know, Imam al-Raza says to Rayyan ibn Shabib, Ibn Shabib, إذا كنت باقي للشيء فابكي للحسين. If you want to cry over anything in your life, cry over Abu Abdullah. If you've had some sort of economic issue, you've lost a family member, you're upset about something, you want to cry, then cry for Imam al-Hussain. Let it out in the way of Imam al-Hussain. Not only does it become azadari, but one also relieves that emotion from themselves. So Habib ibn Madahir, part of the Shurtul al-Khamis. But yet, he's remembered mostly and more prominently for Karbala. When Habib receives the letter from Abu Abdullah, you know, Abu Abdullah addresses Habib as the jurist, Rajulun Faqih. From Hussain ibn Ali to Rajulun Faqih, to that jurist. He says, Habib, you know our position in regards to Rasulullah, and explains the situation. Habib, come to Karbala. As we mentioned in the night when we recited Shahadat of Hazrat Habib ibn Madahir. As Habib is leaving, he meets Muslim ibn Awsaja, which I mentioned. The part that I didn't mention was that when they reach Karbala, on the day of Ashura, Muslim ibn Awsaja is first to go out and fight. Now Muslim is very old. He ties up his eyebrows with a bandana and goes out to fight. When Muslim ibn Awsaja falls, you know, one side is Habib ibn Madahir. I want to explain these individuals. Look at their hope, look at their passion for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, their love of their Imam. You know, Habib on one side and Muslim ibn Awsaja on the other. As soon as Habib receives the letter, he comes straight to Karbala. He brings Muslim ibn Awsaja with him. Muslim is the first to die. Abu Abdullah and Habib go to his body when he falls. Last few breaths in his body. Habib says, Muslim, I'm embarrassed. The situation is such that I can't fulfill any wish or will. If it had been a better situation, I would have fulfilled your will for you. Muslim ibn Awsaja says, no will, just one item I want you to take care of. He says, what is it? He points towards Abu Abdullah. He says, until you are alive, never leave his side. Never leave his side. Imagine, Habib, your Muslim ibn Awsaja has gone through all of these difficulties. He's dying. His last will and testament to Habib is look after your Imam. Don't let any harm come to the Imam while you are still alive. And when Habib himself falls, Abu Abdullah goes to his body. He weeps at his body. Says, Habib, you were that person that would finish a whole Quran in one night. May the mercy of Allah be upon you, O Habib. These individuals in Karbala, their hope in Allah is what made them great. Brothers and sisters, me and you, we're awaiting our Imam as well. What is our hope like? What is our courage like? What is our bravery like? Look at Syed ibn Abdullah. Abu Thamama Saydawi comes to the Imam, says, Ya ibn Rasulullah, it's the time of Salah, at the time of Zuhr, on the day of Ashura. Says, I wish to recite this last Salah behind you before I go out and fight. Abu Abdullah says to him, may the mercy of God be upon you, O Abu Thamama, that you remembered Salah at this time. جَعَلَكَ اللَّهُ مِنَ الْمُصَلِّينَ. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make you from amongst those that were counted amongst those that were the regular reciters of their Salah with proper attention. Syed ibn Abdullah stands in front of Sayyid al-Shahadat. His job? To stop any arrow reaching his Imam while his Imam leads Salah. Allahu Akbar. Syed runs from left to right, taking arrows in his body. When the Salah of Abu Abdullah finishes, he falls to the ground. Imam Hussain runs, takes his head in his lap, his body riddled with arrows, defending his Imam. Imam says to him, Syed, is there any last request that you have for Hussain? If I was in that situation, having taken all of that, what would I ask the Imam? Imam, guarantee me Jannah? Imam, guarantee me this? Imam, take away the pain from my body? Syed ibn Abdullah, instead of asking for anything else, he says, Ya ibn Rasulullah, I just have one question, answer it for me. Abu Abdullah says, Syed, what is it? He says, Awafaytu ya ibn Rasulullah, have I been faithful? Have I fulfilled my oath of loyalty to you, O Abu Abdullah? These individuals, they were no ordinary individuals. Every single one of them. I wish that I had another Ashra just to talk about these individuals and their stories and how it is that they interacted with Abu Abdullah. But unfortunately, our time is short, that we can't go over all of these. There's another companion of Imam al-Hussein. His name is Hafhaf ibn Muhammad al-Rasibi. What's interesting about Hafhaf ibn Muhammad is that he died or was made a shaheed after the death of Abu Abdullah. He hears about Imam al-Hussein leaving Mecca. He's in Basra and he wants to join Imam al-Hussein. So he leaves Basra. Basra is under, again, martial law, but he makes his way out. By the time he reaches Karbala, it is already past the time of Asr on the day of Ashura. And he approaches the army of Amr ibn Sa'd. He says to them, what happened? They said, oh, we killed Hussein, we set fire to his tents, we're going to imprison his women. Hafhaf ibn Muhammad becomes angry. He unsheathes his sword and he begins to ride at these individuals, attacking them and killing them. Imam al-Sajjad salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi says about him, he says, since the appointment of the Holy Prophet, the people had never seen a person who could fight like Ali ibn Abi Talib until Hafhaf ibn Muhammad. He killed so many of the enemy that it took 5 men to attack him at once to finally kill him. May the mercy of Allah be upon him. He could have very easily have walked away. Oh, you've killed Abu Abdullah already? Okay, I've gone. But he stood because he knew that this was haqq. He knew that this path that he had chosen, this path that Allah has prescribed for him, that which Allah has taught him, that which Allah demands from him is justice, to stand against the oppressors. And today, even though he wasn't amongst those that fought side by side with Sayyid al-Shuhada on the battlefield Zahiran, he is still counted amongst the Shuhada of Karbala. There are other individuals in history where Abu Abdullah approached them, asked them to come and join. They didn't come. They didn't join Imam al-Hussein. An individual, multiple times. You know when Imam Hussein, yesterday I mentioned a sermon that Abu Abdullah gave in Mecca. Man kana badilan fina muhjata wa muwattinan ala liqa Allah falyarhal ma'ana. At that point, Abu Abdullah is surrounded by hundreds of people. But the moment he talked about liqa Allah, falyarhal ma'ana, come with us, I'm leaving Mecca in the morning, people realized this is a one-way journey. He's talking about spilling our blood in the way of God. They realized that there was no dunyavi reward per se, that those things that they held dear, they weren't going to get any of that. Those hundreds that surrounded him petered off to only a handful of people that left Mecca with him. And along the way, different people would come approach Abu Abdullah. He would call them. Some would join him, others wouldn't join. Others would not join his side. There are so many examples like that. But these companions that Imam Hussein had, look at their staunchness. Look at their conviction. And then the master of conviction and the master of loyalty is none other than Al-Abbas alayhi salam. Al-Abbas is that individual that never once in the whole saga of Karbala or in his whole life do you see him ever questioning Abu Abdullah. You know, there when Abu Abdullah is next to the Kaaba and news comes that there's going to be an assassination attempt on Imam al-Hussein, Abbas asks for permission from Sayyid al-Shahadat. He says, Ya ibn Rasulullah, would you allow me to speak to these people? And Imam Hussein says, yeah, go. The narration says Abbas holds on to with one arm holds on to the cloth of the Kaaba and pulls himself up to the roof of the Kaaba. And he begins to recite a khutbah. Look at the ma'rifah of Abbas, not just of his own Imam, of himself, but of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this dunya and the ultimate end that is akhirah. He embodies that hope. Says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi alladhi sharrafa hadha biqudumi abi. Man kana bil amsi baytan asbaha qibla. He says, in the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful, praise be to that Lord who honored this house with the footsteps of this man's father, pointing to Abu Abdullah. Talking about Amir al-Mu'mineen. He says, that which until yesterday was a house, but through the barakah of the footsteps of Ali ibn Abi Talib became Qibla. Ayyuha al-kafaratul fajara. He's addressing Hajis. People who have come to do Hajj, have come to Bayt Allah. He says to them, Ayyuha al-kafaratul fajara. أتصدون طريق البيت الإمام البررة. O kuffar, O fujjar, O disbelievers, O open sinners, are you trying to stop the way of the Imam of truth towards the Kaaba? من هو أحق به من سائر البرية. Man huwa adna bih. Tell me who has more right over this Kaaba than him. Tell me who is more nearer to it. وَلَوْلَا حَكِمَ اللَّهُ الْجَلِيَّ وَأَسْرَارَهُ الْعَلِيَّ وَإِخْتَبَارَهُ الْبَرِيَّ لَطَارَ الْبَيْتِ قَبْلَ أَنْ لَطَارَ الْبَيْتِ إِلَيْهِ قَبْلَ أَنْ يَمْشِي لَدَيْهِ. He says that were it not for the will of Allah, and the laws that He has put down upon this earth, you would have seen that the house itself lifted itself from its foundations and flew itself to Hussein before Hussein could come towards it. قَدْ اسْتَلَمَ النَّاسَ الْحَجَرُ وَالْحَجَرُ يَسْتَلِمُ يَدَيْهِ. That all of you, all of mankind wishes to kiss the black stone, but the stone wishes to kiss the hands of Hussein. وَلَوْ لَمْ تَكُنْ مَشِيَّةُ مَوْلَى مَجْبُولَةً مِنْ مَشِيَّةِ الرَّحْمَنِ لَوَقَعْتُ عَلَيْكُمْ كَالصَّقْرِ الْغَضْبَانِ عَلَى الْأَصَافِيرِ الطَّيْرَانِ. He says, were it not for the will of my master, that is one with the will of the beneficent Lord. See the ma'rifah of his Imam, the ma'rifah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Abbas has. Were it not for the will of my master, that is one with the will of the beneficent Lord, I would have tore you apart like small birds, in the same way that an eagle tears these birds apart. أتخون قوم يلعب بالموت في الطفولية فكيف كان في الرجولية. You try and scare a nation that played with the death when they were children, and now you try and scare them when they are fully grown adults. Abbas in Siffin was 13 years old when Amir al-Mu'mineen wrapped his face and sent him out to fight. Ibn Sha'sa had 7 sons. Abbas killed all 7. And Ibn Sha'sa, before Amir al-Mu'mineen called back and said, Abbas irji'i ila al-khayam, Abbas returned back to the tent. It was the people that were with Amir al-Mu'mineen that said, oh Ali, you have a weapon like Abbas here, why don't you use him? This battle would be ended. Let him go out and fight. Amir al-Mu'mineen looks towards them and says, no, innahu zukhrun lil Hussein. This is the treasure of Hussein for Karbala. Abbas says, وَلَفَدَيْتُ بِالْحَامَاتِ لِسَيِّدِ الْبَرِيَّاتِ دُونَ الْحَيْوَانَاتِ. I wish for myself to be martyred, to be killed in front of my master in the same way that animals are sacrificed. هَيْهَاتْ فَانْظَرُوا ثُمَّ انْظُرُوا. You look and look again. مِمَّنْ شَارِبُ الْخَمْرِ وَمِمَّنْ صَاحِبَ الْحَوْضِ وَالْكَوْثَرِ. On one side you have the master of the pool of Kawthar. On the other side you have a drunkard like Yazid. وَمِمَّنْ فِي بَيْتِهِ الْوَحْيِ وَالْقُرْآنِ وَمِمَّنْ فِي بَيْتِهِ اللَّحْوَاتِ وَالدَّنِسَاتِ وَمِمَّنْ فِي بَيْتِهِ التَّطْهِيرُ وَالْآيَاتِ. Says on one side you have the house of revelation and Quran. On the other side you have the house of vanity and impurity, and on this side you have the house of purity and the verses of the Quran. وَأَنْتُمْ وَكَعْتُمْ فِي غَلَطَةِ الَّتِي قَدْ وَكَعْتَ فِيهَا الْقُرَيْشِ لَأَنَّهُمْ أَرْدُوا قَتَلَ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَآلِهِ وَأَنْتُمْ تُرِيدُونَ قَتْلَ ابْنِ بِنْتِ نَبِيِّكُمْ وَلَا يُمْكِنُ لَهُمْ مَا دَامَ أَمِيرُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ حَيًّا. Says that you're making the same mistake that the Quraysh made when they thought that they could kill Rasulullah, but they had not counted on Amir al-Mu'mineen being there, and they could never get near Rasulullah as long as Ali was alive. وَكَيْفَ يُمْكِنُ لَكُمْ قَتَلَ أَبِي عَبْدِ اللَّهِ الْحُسَيْنِ مَا دُمْتُ حَيًّا سَلِيلًا. That how is it possible that you then think that you can come near Abu Abdullah al-Hussein while life is still in the body of Abbas? Ta'alaw, come. أخبركم بالسبيل بادروا قتلي. Come, Abbas will tell you a way how you can reach Hussein, how you can kill Abu Abdullah. He says بادروا قتلي, kill me first. واضربوا عنقي ليحصل مرادكم, and cut off my head from my body so that you can fulfill that which you want to do. لا بالغ الله مدراكم بددا وعماركم أموالكم وأولادكم ولعن الله عليكم وعلى أجدادكم. Says, may God never allow you to reach your goal, and may He reduce your children. La'na upon you and your forefathers. Abbas comes down from the Kaaba. Look at the hope of Abbas. Look at the ma'rifah of Abbas. Look at the basira of Abbas. The amount of trust he had in Abu Abdullah, the same amount of trust and the hope Abu Abdullah had in Abbas. That's why when he comes on the day of Ashura to his brother and says to him, give me permission to go out and fight, Abu Abdullah looks at him, says, Abbas, Anta sahibu liwa'i wa anta kabshu katibati. Abbas, you are the commander of my army. Abbas, you are my flag bearer. Abbas, how can I let you go out? The ashab all go out. Remember, Abbas has been hearing from day one, Abbas is for Karbala, Abbas is for Karbala, Abbas will defend Abu Abdullah. The Sahabis go out one by one, each of their bodies full. Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas comes back to Abu Abdullah. Brother, give me permission to go out and fight. And Imam al-Hussain again looked at him. Anta sahibu liwa'i wa anta kabshu katibati. Abbas, you are the commander of this army. Abbas, you are the flag bearer of this army. Abbas, how can I let you go? Ali Akbar goes, Qasim goes, Aun and Muhammad go. All of the Ahlul Bayt are gone. Only remaining is Abu Abdullah and Al-Abbas. He comes again, stands in front of him, says, Oh Abu Abdullah, give me permission to go out and fight. Again Abu Abdullah says to him, Abbas, Anta sahibu liwa'i wa anta kabshu katibati. Some say that Abbas then questioned the Imam, said, where is that army? But that is not the Abbas that we know. But tears that streamed from the eyes of Abbas. They called out, where is that army? There's no one left. There's just me and you. But Abu Abdullah was so attached to his brother Abbas. He would turn him away. But some say maybe it was the cries of Al-Atash from the children of Ahlul Bayt. That Abu Abdullah looked at his brother and said, Brother, if you must go, then let us go and get water for the children. According to the reliable Maqatil, Abu Abdullah and Hazrat Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, both brothers, rode out in order to try and get water. They fought their way towards the banks of the Furat, aiming to get to the Furat. But when the army realized, the army of Yazid realized what was the plot, Umar ibn Sa'ad ordered that a group of soldiers drive a wedge between the two brothers. They drove a wedge between the two brothers and they separated Abu Abdullah from Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. They push Abu Abdullah back towards where the tents were, but Abbas carries on, fighting his way towards the banks of the Furat. Abbas comes down from his horse. He goes towards the banks of the Furat. He goes inside the water. He takes the water bag, he fills it with water, puts it back on his shoulder. Then he reaches down, he picks up the water, he looks at it. Abbas, some say Abbas intended to drink it. But I say no, Abbas was showing his courage and his valor. He lifts it up. Ya nafs, min ba'd al-Hussain huni. My nafs, O self, what pleasure is there left in this world after your master Hussein? Will you drink this cold water while your master Hussein drinks the syrup of death? Abbas throws back the water to show them that Abbas is not bound by these things. He throws back the water, he climbs back on his horse. Now Abbas's only aim is to reach towards the tents of Abu Abdullah. As he rides through, fighting his way through, they realize that there is no way that we can fight Abbas one-on-one. One mal'oon goes and hides behind a date palm. As Abbas is riding, he strikes the right arm of Al-Abbas. It falls, cuts the arm clean off the body of Abbas. Abbas calls out, Wallah, in kata'tumu yamini, inni uhami abadan an dini. He says, by Allah, even if you cut off my right arm, Abbas will never leave defending the religion of Allah. Another man hiding behind another date palm cuts off the left arm of Abbas. Abbas, both his arms are now cut. He's riding now only to try and get this water towards Abu Abdullah, telling himself, oh nafs, don't fear the kuffar, you carry on riding on your way. Our Harmala realizes that the heart of Abbas is within that bag of water. He takes aim, he fires an arrow towards the bag of water. The water begins to spill. The narration says, فَوَقَفَ الْعَبَّاسِ. Abbas stops his horse. Where is it that Abbas should go? The Maqatil say Umar ibn Sa'ad ordered 4,000 archers to take aim at Abbas. The Qamar of Bani Hashim. The skies darken as the arrows rain down upon Abbas. The arrows raining, hitting the body of Abbas from every angle. Abbas unable to stabilize himself on the horse. Harmala takes aim, fires an arrow into the eye of Abbas. Now Abbas, in order to try and remove the arrows, his arms have been cut. He can't pull the arrow from his eye. So they say that Abbas bent down and tried to use his knees to pull the arrow from his eye. As Abbas bent down, one mal'oon came from behind. He struck the back of the head of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas with an iron bar. As Abbas is struck, he falls from the horse. As Abbas is falling from the horse, he cries out, Ya akhi adrik akhak. Oh brother, come to the aid of your brother. Abbas falls from the horse. But how is it that a man with no arms falls? They say Abbas fell face first. Tell me what was in the eye of Abbas. Abbas falls on his face. The arrow goes deeper into his eye. When Abbas called out, there were 4 cries that were heard in Karbala. When he called out, Ya akhi adrik akhak. Oh brother, come to the aid of your brother. The first cry came from Abu Abdullah. He said, Alan inqasara dhahri. Now my back has been broken. The second cry came from Zainab that said, oh woe unto me, now I know that imprisonment is coming my way. The third cry came from the children, from that daughter of Abi Abdullah. Oh father, bring back my uncle Abbas, I won't ask for water again. And the fourth cry came from the army of Yazid. The cry was, attack the tents of Hussein, because now Hussein is gharib, Hussein is alone, he has no one by his side. Abu Abdullah comes towards the body of Abbas. He stands by the head of Abbas. He cries. He says, Abbas, that I that slept knowing that you were alive tonight will stay awake out of fear. And that I that stayed awake out of fear knowing that you were alive tonight, Abbas, will sleep. Abu Abdullah says to him, Abbas, Alan inkasara dhahri. Now my back has been broken. They say that Abu Abdullah stood by the body of Abbas, فَبَكَى الْحُسَيْنِ بُكَاءً شَدِيدًا. Said that we heard Hussein cry so loudly, we'd never heard Hussein cry in such a way. Why is it that Abu Abdullah stood by the body of Abbas? When he went to the body of Ali Akbar, he threw himself and laid with the body. When he went with the body of Qasim, he sat down, he lifted the body of Qasim, he took it with him, with Awan and Muhammad, with the different Shahadat. He stood, he sat by their bodies, but yet now, when he comes to the body of his brother Abbas, they say that Imam al-Hussein stood. So why is it that Abu Abdullah stood? They say because when he went to the body of Ali Akbar, he knew that Abbas was there to take care of the tents. When he went to the body of Qasim, he knew his Abbas was there. Awn and Muhammad, he knew his Abbas was there. But now his Abbas lies lifeless in front of him on the ground. Abu Abdullah can no longer sit. He has to protect the tents. Abu Abdullah leaves the body of Abbas at the banks of the Furat, returns back to the tents. But they say, why is it that Hussein left the body? Said one reason is this, that because the tents were being attacked, Abu Abdullah couldn't lift and take back the body. He had to go and take care of the tents, take care of the women that were left behind in the tents. They say the second reason could be that Abu Abdullah himself had said, Alan in qasara dhahri, that his back had been broken, his strength taken from him. Upon the death of Abbas, he didn't have the strength to be able to lift the young body of his brother. But they say the third reason and the most probable reason is why the Maqatil, when talking about Abbas, they say when the arrows came towards him and he began to be showered by arrows, they began attacking him as well. And as he fell to the ground, they surrounded him and they attacked him in such a way that the Maqtal says, فَقَطَّعُوهُ إِرَبًا إِرَبًا. They mutilated and ripped shreds from the body of Abbas. That when Abu Abdullah came to the body of his brother, he realized that his body was in no state to be lifted, because were he to lift the body of Abbas from the right, the left would fall away, and were he to lift it from the left, the right would fall away. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. Pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive our sins. Ya Allah, this is the night of Babul Hawa'ij. Ya Allah, for the sake of Al-Abbas, forgive our sins. Ya Allah, forgive the sins of our parents. Ya Allah, for the sake of Al-Abbas, those of our parents that are alive, give them long lives. Those of our parents that have left this world, give them a place next to Ali Muhammad in Jannah. Ya Allah, there are so many that are sitting, watching this from wherever in the world they are. Ya Allah, they brought their hajat on this night. For the sake of Babul Hawa'ij Abbas, Ya Allah, fulfill their hajat. Ya Allah, give us the tawfiq of the ziyarat of Abu Abdullah. Ya Allah, give safety to all the azadar of Sayyid al-Shuhada around the world. Ya Allah, hasten the reappearance of the Imam of our time and allow us to be amongst his true muntadhireen, his true waiters. for the acceptance of these du'as and any other du'as that you brothers and sisters have, wherever in the world you may be. Please recite 3 of your loudest salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.